Hey guys, it's Brave here,
And
back at it
now
with
you
BATOL
learn the
12.
true
Today I'm
lesson
going to
of
be
the
teaching you
void.
guys about how I go about tanking my BATOL pretty much any key level. With this first pull here, I always double into this dragon, and then I try and get him pretty much right up on this wall so it's real easy to LOS him. On his AoE knockback, the wind here, but you can see I just walk behind this wall. It's an easy LOS every time. Really helps the DPS not die. Making sure we're trying to get interrupts on some of these casts going out. And then once this dragon looks like he's getting low, I'm going to pull it into the next pack. I'm going to go ahead and hit the shield wall early for this next drive. And then we're just going to look to finish up this dragon. Once he's down, I'm just going to finish up this pack. And make sure we're just interrupting, and that's about it. Here I'm looking to see where the other Twilight Overseer is pathing, and then since this one's not quite dead, I'm going to go ahead and pull the next 3 mobs while this other one pats into us. That way we can finish up that last Twilight Overseer. We're just keeping up good cleave damage here. I'm always looking to make sure my group's getting good cleave damage. Once this caster dies, I'm going to go ahead and look to pull the rest of these. Group them all up. I'm going to make sure I get an interrupt out. I always like to hit shield wall while I'm gathering these because they're going to be hitting me in the back. Pretty much you just want to look to interrupt and make sure you stop the mass tremors going out. It's just not good to let those go off. With the dragons, we actually got a really fortunate pat, and we're able to use our big hitting ability on that group of pathing mobs with the Twilight Overseer plus the dragon. So that helps out a whole bunch when you get the pat in that angle. Heck yeah, it's just a big help start there. And here I'm gonna look to just do as much damage to the double Overseer pack and make sure it dies. There's a ton of interrupts on this pull, so you want to be kind of careful. If your group's not ready to handle it, it can kind of be bad. So I'm going to go ahead and pull the pack on the bridge with the triple interrupt pack. Here we spare link, which is probably best because there's just a ton of interrupts going off. But once this pack dies, you can pretty much just start pulling it to the next pack. With this, a lot of the times I just pull this into the boss. Make sure you're just getting the interrupts off, or it can be a little scary. This boss is pretty easy. The AoE shot doesn't really hurt tanks, it's mostly just for the group. What you're really looking for is the skull splitter here, and to make sure you're positioning the boss correctly. You always want to try and move the boss as fast as possible to the safe space so the rest of your team will be able to get there with you. And here, I'm gonna get a skull splitter here pretty soon. I like to use like shield wall, demoralizing shout, that kind of stuff, because it just leaves a bleed on you. It's pretty hard. Well, you can see I got the bleed. I'm just making sure I'm pressing more pain. It can be a little bit scary, but with Warrior we have Battle Scarred Veteran, and if it does proc it, you can just use Last Stand to full HP again. But whenever you get the bleed, I always try and just save my rage a little bit when I know it's coming. That way I can just use my ignore pains as I need. I should have used my shield wall on the skull splitter, but I was trying to greed it for the next pack. I'll end up dropping pretty low, and I should have used my shield wall. If you have the option between like using your battle scarred veteran or like your shield wall, especially if you have like almost 2 charges, you should always just use your shield wall because it'll come back. Here I'm gonna loop in and I'm gonna battle charge one of these casters. Use my demo shout. Get the ignore pains up, get the shield block up. Now I'm gonna be looking to kick these long channels, and if you interrupt them right after they start the channel, or you stun them, etc., they won't recast that stun. So if I'm going to use my stun, I always try and time it to where it'll be after. And then on the lava fists here, you can just spell reflect them and they won't do any damage. They just deflect. Now as a tank here, you need to pay attention to where the boss is pathing and where he's at, because you don't want to pull the boss and obviously this giant pack of stuff. So I'm just going to charge in, get my ignore plane up, shield charge one of the casters so he's stunned. I was watching this lava fist, I got the spell reflect off on it, didn't take any damage. Now as these casters start dying, what you can do, you just pull them into the next pack. Now as a tank with these Shadow Flame renders, you gotta be watching for their Shadow Flame slashes and make sure you're using defensives, because they'll just kill you. And you see I'm just taking a ton of damage. Now as a warrior you can reflect them, but you can only reflect one of them. See I'm just taking a ton of damage. This is a little bit scary of a pack, but we're okay. I had all my cooldowns up, so I wasn't too afraid. You send your big defensives on that pack 100% of the time. Now as a tank on this boss, your positioning is really important. And you want to pull him kind of further back at the start of, like, you know, the entrance is okay, but it's not a huge deal. Just want to make sure he's in a position to, like, cast his frontal into, like, a wall or, like, you know, away from where you're going to be walking. Once I know the frontal's gone, I'm going to be pulling him a little further back. He's forging his swords. As a tank, the swords are what really hurt. Once he does his flurry here, I'm going to be using my defensive. Making sure I have my blocks up. And then after this, he's going to forge the mace. And the mace as a tank, you just have to run away from him. So once he goes big and he starts channeling, you run away. Here I'm just heroic throwing for fun, basically. Just keep some threat. I don't think it really matters. I'm just making sure I always have my shield block and my ignore pain up. He's again forging swords, so that means I know I gotta use defensives here. Making sure I just keep my ignore pain topped up. I think spell block also reduces the damage I take from it by a lot. Put down the AMZ, which is really good for the other people in my party. I ran a little bit too soon here. I should have stayed on the boss and saved a little bit of space, but just gonna pull him to this side over here, just stay on the edge. That way we don't accidentally pull the other mobs too soon. Now you'll see once this boss is done doing AoE pulsing, and my group's topped up and looking good, I'm gonna start looking to pull the next pack. So he's doing the cleave. So I was waiting for, that way we don't accidentally cleave on top of these ads and cause a nightmare. The boss is low enough for me and yo, thanks for this so quickly. Mostly finish up these ads. How's it going? If you have a big defensive, it's okay to use it there because there won't be a huge pull coming up. You're gonna be streaming that Call of the Duty. Now this pack is the same as every other pack, just like it. Like shield charge stun, all the casters. Here I'm checking the route. If you play it, normally I skip this and I just pull everything else in the dungeon, but it's weird. So you can see we wind up pulling everything else in the dungeon and it doesn't really matter. I normally just skip this because the other stuff's hard to skip. DPS players will back pull, you know, it's just how it is. So you just wind up pulling everything else. What you can do is you can actually skip the last dragon, which I like to do a lot. The dragons are just, for some reason they're deadly if you're not expecting it or your group's not coordinated. So here with this pull, I'm going to tag the pack to the right, pull in the enforcer. The Twilight Lava Bender's pathing away from me. I'm going to reflect the Flamebender Slash so I don't need to use any defensives here. Now what I'm going to do as a tank here is I'm going to watch the enforcer and watch how many stacks he's getting. Like once he's at about 5 stacks, it's about time that you need to use your stun. Oh, the zombies are pretty fun. I've been wanting to do those. Or you need to be ready to use the defensive. because he'll start hitting real hard. Here you can see I backed away for long enough for him to reset his stacks. He pulled the Twilight Lava Bender. Healer hit up a Link. Honestly here, you could probably double this into the next pack, but I know we were pretty decent on time, so I just wanted to play a little bit safe. Our healer didn't have a Dispel Curse, which is a big problem. You always want to make sure your healer can Dispel Curses. Dispel Curse is just really important for this part of the dungeon. Any other classes that can Dispel Curse is huge. We had a Ellie Shaman that was dispelling for us, which was a huge help. This pack's pretty easy. I'm trying to plan my route so I don't go too far over. But just try and kick the stun or like the bolts, and then just try and stop those. Especially if they're targeting people that have the curse on them or they have their whole health bar absorbed. Just make sure you're getting stops on these. Once we finish up this pull, I'm looking to pull the next. This pull's a little scary. I'm going to be trying to watch for this Shadow Flame Slash, get the reflect out on that. I was watching that channel, someone ended up kicking, but I also shockwaved it and then capped items over it. And then here I wasn't paying too much attention to the Enforcer, and he winds up getting quite a few stacks on me here. You see my health bar just drops dramatically and it doesn't get back up as I try to pull the next guy, but luckily we wind up finishing him. And I didn't want to pull these warlocks with this, but we wind up doing it. It's whatever. I was trying to calculate in my route if we could skip anything because we pulled these warlocks, but we wind up not being able to. I sat back over and I stopped a curse. I'm just going to recast the curse though. Just make sure you get kicks on the bolts. This is a really scary pull because the Twilight Lava Bender does a ton of pulsing damage. And if they get a curse out, it's not good because we don't have enough B curses for it. This is a pretty standard pull. I double the pat plus this pack. I'm going to be looking for the Shadow Flame Slash to reflect it. We just want to try and avoid the Shadow Flame Slashes as much as possible. Getting interrupts out, stunning, doing what I can. This pack's not very scary for the tank. It's mostly just for the DPS. The only packs that are like truly scary for tank in this are ones with the Enforcer. And you can just mitigate that problem by slowing them and walking away. And once they stop auto-attacking, their stacks will just fall off. And it's not a big deal. Here we go on to the next pack. If you want to skip the dragon, you have to pull this. I charge in without anything up. I immediately get procced. I'm going to last stand to full HP. Then I'm mainly just trying to watch the Enforcers a little bit. Our DPS is like really high over these cooldowns. So we rip this back up. I don't have to kite at all. And then I'm going to try and look the... Once we finish this pack up, I'm just going to try and pull as fast as possible. I should be walking towards the other mobs here. You should always be trying to pull these mobs into the next pack, like, when available. Especially if you have like a DK or something that needs to keep breath up. Now this pack, it's pretty simple. There is Shadow Flame slashes you need to worry about, and as a warrior it's not too scary because you just reflect one of them and it's not a big deal. If you get low, you need a shield wall, no big deal. Now the double Twilight Lava Bender on hierarchies is pretty difficult, and it's important you focus one of them first before you get the other one to 50%, as if you get them both to 50% at the same time, that'll pretty much do unhealable damage to the group and they'll likely wipe. So it's just really important that you're focusing one of them down. Healers are gonna have to send their cooldowns here. With this boss as a tank, it's not really a hard hitting fight for a tank. You just need to be aware of positioning for your allies. Obviously, as DPSers don't pop cooldowns on this little bitty guy. You just kind of do enough to get him dead in a reasonable amount of time. And then, as a tank, I'm going to be trying to focus the ads and stun him when I can on the main boss. Here we got him phased to the actual fight with the dragon. I'm gonna get aggro. Make sure he's coming over. Keep my aggro, and then I'm gonna hide myself in this little cubby. Right exactly where I am. This is the best spot to tank him by like large margin. If you tank him right here, both the little ads will just spawn, and you can easily cleave him under the boss. Like, this makes this fight trivial. Towards the end of the fight, it can get a little dangerous for tank because there's going to be a ton of tornadoes spawning right here. You'll see later on in the video that there's just a ton of tornadoes. As you can see, the ads are pretty much spawning every time in the back of this little cubby. Easy to stun and cleave both of them down. For the knockback, you just want to position yourself back behind the cubby. That way, there's no big boss movement and such. For the frontal, you can move away. It doesn't hit that hard. I like to move out of the cubby for the frontals. You don't have to position yourself directly in the cubby, as you can see. You just want to make sure the dragon is like deep in there. So the first set of ads, you just go back in. For the knockbacks, I try and get back in the cubby. And then for the breaths, I move out. And then since there's just a bunch of tornadoes there and it's like a risk for my DPS, I don't want to lose anybody. I'm going to go ahead and move the dragon out for the last set of ads and last knockback. It shouldn't be a big deal. I got my spear up. I'm going to double spear him. Damage him as best I can. Looking for a knockback. Leap back to the ads for cleave. Face the frontal away from your group. It's always important. And then we're gonna finish with the boss, and I'm gonna get to the next pack. This pack can be kind of scary for a tank. They got a Shadow Flame Slash plus Enforcers you gotta worry about. Got the Reflect up on that Slash. Trying to watch out for the funnels. Our team's doing a good job of DPSing these guys quickly. If damage is low on these, it can kind of turn into a bit of a problem. So here, this is the last dragon I was talking about earlier in the video that you can just skip by just, if you hug the wall and you strafe to the left there, you can just skip it completely. And I pull these into the next Corruptor. Just a little double action. Now the actual corruptions here you gotta be careful about. You don't want to get mind controlled, and then as a DPS, those channels you really got to be careful and be ready to use defensive zone because they'll just kill you. Especially with any stacks of this debuff from the little ads, it hurts so bad. If you are like a warrior DPS, you can reflect these though, and that helps a lot. The rest of the trash is pretty much the same. You just avoid the circles, and if you're a tank that can off-heal, you go ahead and off-heal the people that get targeted with the corruptions. And a prop pally could use sack, etc. Just a hard-hitting spell. Pretty much the same thing as a tank. You're just gonna get aggro and dodge swirls. Now with this boss, he can be pretty scary. For a tank, it's not until he uses his tank buster mechanic that he really hits tanks hard. He's pretty trivial. You just get the ignore plane up and it doesn't really do much past it. As a tank, your positioning is once again very important. I'm seeing that it's going to go off to the left, so I pop my spell reflect. And I'm gonna heroic leap. With spell reflect up, you can eat as many tentacles as you want, as long as spell reflect is up. Here he's summoning the ads, and then he's about to do his crush, which is the tank buster. I'm just gonna be ready to charge back in. Now these ads, you can't let them get your back. Here I was letting them get my back a little bit. And then you don't want to be killing these ads until after he does all that pulsing damage. I accidentally got stunned by a tentacle. Luckily I'm a human, I can human racial it. I'm looking where we need to go as a group. I'm gonna just try and clear as much as a path so that way we can all make it there alive. Don't have to worry about dying. Here I'm gonna move away from the cones because they did it right. They're actually in space. I'm gonna move. I'm looking behind me to make sure I'm not gonna get crushed into a tentacle here. That's why I was looking back there. I'd back a little low here at proc, so gonna go ahead and avatar and taunt all these guys in there. Again, DPS needs to not kill these ads until after the pulse is out. You don't want to kill them too slow either, because everything on this fight's shadow damage. Here I'm looking around and see where I gotta go. Heroic leap for the movement speed. Use my spell reflect. Clear as many as I could for us. Trying to make a good path. And then it's just rinse and repeat. I'm gonna move to a position where I don't get crushed and knocked back into a tentacle. On the crushes you can often just use defensive cooldown. Because the ads are also, they just hit pretty hard if they're the tanks. You definitely don't want to turn your back to them. Here I'm once again looking to where we have to go. I'm gonna pop that spell reflect or lead to some more. Try and clear out a little space for us if possible. And then we're just gonna finish up the boss here and GG. Hope you guys liked the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, comment, and let me know what I can do better. GG boys. GG.